Hello, everyone, and welcome to Campaign Diaries 0, is what we're going to call it. So this first video is just going to be me giving kind of a background on me, my experience as a GM or a DM, my experience playing tabletop RPGs, and then I'll give you a little background on my players and their characters. So to start out, I've played in quite a few different RPGs, mostly as a player. So I played in a full... I think we did Rise of the Rune Lords Pathfinder adventure, where one of my buddies GM'd it for us, and it was a lot of fun. I played a druid named Chalk Chalk. He was awesome. I also DM'd a few sessions of Pathfinder, where that same group, after we finished the pre-made adventure, we wanted to keep playing, and I volunteered to DM. It was my first real time ever doing it. It went okay. I definitely had no clue what I was doing to begin with, but I think I started to pick it up as we went along. I did dabble in a couple other RPGs through Roll20. I played in a couple games of Apocalypse World, Dungeon World. I played a Numenera game. We used the Cypher system from Numenera in this cool Roll20 game where it was kind of like Norse mythology in like a futuristic technological world. I played like a werewolf. It was a good time. But then I DM'd a multiple session. It was supposed to be a longer campaign, but life kind of got in the way and I couldn't do it anymore. But it was a game on Roll20 with random people I'd never met, and I kind of set it in the world of EverQuest on Norath. It was actually the same setting that I used in the original Pathfinder game I DM'd for my friends. I kind of used all that work I did preparing for that to create this new session for random people on Roll20, and I loved it. It was a great time. It was a pretty big group. I think we had 6 or 7 players plus me, and they all had some experience playing before. It was the first time I'd ever played 5th edition, and it was a blast. The players were very engaged. They all did a lot of prep. They all were prepared. It was a really cool, fun experience, but unfortunately I just got a new job, and I thought I could commit more time to it than I actually could, and we had to break it up, and I'm still pretty sad about that. I'm hoping to one day maybe bring it back. Who knows? So yeah, I've only DM'd one real campaign, and it was only probably, I want to say 7 or 8 sessions long of 5th edition. Now I have watched probably thousands of hours of a bunch of RPGs. Big fan of roleplay on Twitch at MeJP. I'll put a link to it in the description. There's so many shows he does, and they're all amazing. Swan Song, I think it's like something like 300 or 400 episodes, I think, and I watched every single one of them. Well, I say watched. I listened to every single one of them. I put it on the car like it's an audiobook, and it takes me to work every day. But he has a bunch of other shows, and they're all fantastic. The DMs they have on that show are amazing. And of course, I watch Critical Role. Who doesn't nowadays? And Matthew Mercer is a god. But that being said, I am not Matthew Mercer. I am not Adam Coble. I'm not Stephen Lumpkin from Roleplay. I am just a guy who wants to play, and my friends don't want to DM, so I decided to do it. And I actually really like it. I think I like it more than playing, because I can kind of play my own game on a daily basis with prep and stuff, and just researching and doing the prep work. Whereas they only get to play for a few hours whenever we get a chance to play every other week or so. So I kind of like DMing. I think it's meant for me. I get to tell a story. So that being said, I don't know all the rules. I don't want to know all the rules. A lot of times I just kind of make a gut decision on any rule check, and then if I'm wrong, we look it up later, and then for future reference we'll know what the rules are. But I think 5th edition is great for people who are not rules experts, because you can just be like, okay, you have advantage, or okay, you have disadvantage. With Pathfinder, what drove me nuts was all the math. Like if someone was trying to rules lawyer with me and be like, well, I'm skilled at this, this, and this, and I agreed with them, I would have to give them an arbitrary number advantage, like, okay, you get +2 or whatever. I think the whole advantage disadvantage thing, while it's probably not perfect, it's simple enough that I can be like, sure, you can have advantage on this roll. You can have an advantage because someone was helping you try to climb up this rock wall. Maybe our giant tiefling, you were able to climb on his shoulders, so that gave you a little boost. It's easier than take a +4. So that's my experience with tabletop RPGs. A lot of watching on YouTube and Twitch and dabbling in it myself. Let's talk about my campaign setting for a second. So we are definitely set in the Forgotten Realms world of D&D, mostly because I've read all of the R.A. Salvatore Drist books. They were like the first like novel I ever read, and I read all 22 books I think he's at. So we are set in the Forgotten Realms. It's a very light version of the Forgotten Realms. I do not claim to be an expert on the Forgotten Realms, but I like the setting, and it allows me to really do some research and find ideas for the campaign. Because if someone is, let's say, interested in trolls, I can go on Forgotten Realms wiki and where are trolls? And then that can be the setting for one of our adventures, where we go to the Trollbark Forest and figure out, what are these trolls doing here? What is their goal? Why are there so many of them here? So I really like setting it in a world that has an established lore and established history, because I can just pull stuff and not have to come up with everything from scratch. So our campaign is based on the Harpers. I basically told all the players, for whatever reason, you guys decided you want to join the Harpers. You can come up with your own backstory, but I want you guys to have the goal of joining the Harpers. And that's what brings us to the trusty old starting a tavern shtick that we're going to go with. Some other things to note about my campaign. I am using the Tales of the Yawning Portal to give myself kind of quests for them to go on, at least to start here. In fact, as of the time I'm recording this video, I don't think I'm using any more of the Yawning Portal adventures. I might have to start making up my own now. But for these first couple quests that they go on, the Tales of the Yawning Portal is a D&D book published by Wizard of the Coast that has several adventures that are not necessarily connected. So if you have a level 1 group, they have an adventure you can use at level 1. If you have a level 3 or 4 group, they have an adventure you can use at level 3 or 4. And it goes up through, I think, level 16 or 18. So they have several adventures that you can give to your players as an option to do if you want to keep that sandboxy world that I'm hoping I'm creating. But because I have newer players, I do kind of have to push them along a path. So it's set in the Forgotten Realms. I'm using Tales of a Yawning Portal to supplement my campaign, but I do add a lot of stuff to these adventures that are in the book. I add characters, I add loot, I add fun stuff for them to do, and then everything in between these adventures is all made from scratch, but it's set in the Forgotten Realms. So I can Google, what is Gauntlgrim like? And then the Forgotten Realms wiki will pop up and be like, here's what's going on in Gauntlgrim around this time. So let me talk about our players, because I think this is the situation that a lot of people out there are going to run into, where they might not have enough friends who want to play D&D. So I bribed my family members to play with me for my birthday. So I watched Critical Role, and in one episode they were talking about how the reason they started playing in the first place was, I believe it was Liam O'Brien wanted to play, and so he said, hey guys, I want to play for my birthday. Will you play with me? And they agreed to do it because they're his friends. So I pulled the same card with my family. So in my group, we got my wife, Becca, my brother, Chris, his wife, Christina, and he's practically family, good friend of ours named Omar. So those are our 4 players. Omar has played before. He played back when he was in school, and he has a lot of experience with the older versions of the game. I don't think he'd ever actually played 5th edition before. He was in my original Pathfinder group that I mentioned when I was first learning how to play Pathfinder. So he has definitely played games like this before, so he knows what to expect. And I've kind of expected him, and he has definitely done this. He's kind of pushed the story along, helped them kind of guide their decisions on what they should be doing, because it is strange to play an RPG for the first time and not really know what you're doing. So we've got Omar playing Urival. Urival is a half-elf ranger, and we're using the revised ranger that I found online from the Unearthed Arcana. And Urival was kind of raised by wolves, I guess. A group of rangers found him in like a wolf's den, and they decided to take him to a village where they taught him how to like be a person and not a wolf. and then they trained him to be a ranger. Because of his mysterious background, being an 11-year-old that they found in a wolf's den, he's kind of determined to figure out what happened to him. And through the ranger's help and his own kind of research and skills in survival, he was able to determine that his family and his whole community was attacked by a young red dragon years ago. And that's why he was kind of homeless. So when he was like a baby, his home was attacked by a young red dragon. He was able to track where his family was from, and he found a red dragon scale that he now wears as a bracer, which is kind of cool, which will come up later. That kind of set Urival on his path to hunt down evil dragons and prevent them from harming others the way his family was killed, really. He decided he wanted to join the Harpers. Kip Thamos was formerly a pirate of Ship Rethnor. He was actually the first mate of Ship Rethnor. And he was very loyal to his captain, Athrogate. And Kip Thamos decided to leave Luskan because his captain was betrayed, killed, and replaced by kind of a henchman for Ship Kurth. And it kind of sent Ship Rethnor into the bottom of the pecking order in Luskan, and now they are kind of flunkies for Ship Kurth, which is the lead ship for Luskan. Kip Thamos was not happy with that. He was very close with Athrogate, his captain. He was very loyal, so he decided he was going to leave. And he kind of wanted to get some revenge for his fallen captain. He knew that the Harpers were interested in what was going on with Luskan, so he wanted to join the Harpers, give them information on what's going on with Luskan, and possibly lead the anti-Luskan brigade of Harpers to kind of narrow down their power. The pirates of Luskan under Ship Kurth have been kind of flexing their political muscle and expanding their influence and territory ever since the host tower was destroyed. They're getting a little feisty. So the Harpers are surely interested in keeping those pirates at bay, and Kip Thamos would like to help the Harpers in doing that as an act of revenge for his fallen captain. Now we're going to talk about the girls, and they kind of come as a pair. Hazelwick is a gnome wizard, played by my sister-in-law, and Ambrosius is an elf druid, played by my wife. So they both come from the same tribe. It was an all-female tribe that has since become extinct. They're kind of the last two members of their tribe that at least they know about and anybody knows about. So they didn't agree with what their tribe was involved in. They were doing some things that they didn't like. So they decided they would leave the tribe and start their own tribe, kind of create a better tribe that they can be proud of. Now, there is some prior connections here. Hazelwick and Kip Thamos did have a kind of one-night adventure, if you know what I'm saying. Hazelwick, not proud of that moment, and Kip Thamos is trying to rekindle that flame, and it's kind of the theme of a lot of their conversations is Kip Thamos trying to show off and trying to win over Hazelwick. I think it's a little funny that Kip Thamos is this large red pirate tiefling, and then Hazelwick is a little gnome wizard. That's funny in my head. And then Ambrosius, like I said, she's a druid. She's very in tune with nature, like most druids are. And a lot of times she gets very conflicted when our party wants to engage with animals and nature. Like most new people to D&D, they have this fight first mentality, and it's really fun when Ambrosius, you can tell that she's conflicted, and it's a great moment when me as a GM gets to see a new player not want to partake in the murder hobo society, whereas Kip Thamos for sure, and even Urival, even though Omar has played before, he definitely has that, oh, they look mean, so we're going to fight them mentality. And especially when it comes to animals and stuff like that, Ambrosius, not interested, and usually tries to communicate with the animals in some way to prevent combat. It's a fun dynamic. So that's the characters. That's my history with games. This has been Campaign Diary 0. Campaign Diary probably 0.2 will be coming out shortly, where I'll kind of give you what's happened so far in our campaign. We've done about, probably 8 or 9 sessions, and I think we're getting to the point where people are really figuring out how to play. So every time we play, I'm going to do a campaign diary to kind of recap how things went on my end, as well as how the party is doing. Thanks everybody for watching. Peace.